This is the big national story. We have this from CNN Politics. The Biden administration has declared monkeypox a public health emergency. Uh-oh. The announcement came during a briefing with the Department of Health and Human Services. The administration has been criticized at times for its handling of the outbreak. Since the first U.S. monkeypox case was identified mid-May, more than 6,600 probable or confirmed cases have been detected in the United States. Cases have been identified in every state except Montana and Wyoming. The declaration follows the World Health Organization announcement last month that monkeypox is a public health emergency of international concern. The WHO defines a public health emergency of international concern as an extraordinary event that constitutes a public health risk to other states through the international spread of disease and to potentially require a coordinated international response. Okay, well, look, according to, I think it's the World Health Organization, 95% of those who have been infected have been men who have sex with men. And so there was a story where they were saying, actually, I'll just put it this way. In New York City, if you want to get a vaccine in order to be eligible, you have to be a male who has intercourse with males and have had multiple anonymous partners. That's how you qualify for the vaccine. They're not just giving this vaccine to anybody.
They also said male identifying. So
really?
I guess women can get the monkeypox vaccine too.
As long as you're claiming to get with a bunch of guys, I guess.
Dude, this is like a struggle session. They're like, you know what you got to do if you want the vaccine. Here's our guidelines. Go get them.
Super base that Montana and Wyoming don't have it. I mean, why do you think all the Californians want to move there?
Yeah, but it's not so much that it's super base. Like, I drove through Wyoming and I thought I was gonna run out of gas because I'm driving down this highway for like 200 miles and it's just road. And then there was this small shed-looking building, and I'm like, I got like 50 miles left in the tank, and I'm driving, and then my friend goes, "Look!" And there's two gas pumps that I couldn't even tell were gas pumps. And I was like, whoa. And then we pulled over immediately and it was like this dude in his house with like a little dog walking around and he had gas. And I was like, well, okay. So yeah, it's really hard to transmit diseases in environments like that. Beautiful though.
Dude,
very, very beautiful.
You pointed it out that 95%, at least is the number I've heard of them, it sounds like it's an STD transmitted by guys having sex with guys.
It's not an STD. That's a very important distinction. People have been saying that because of what they're reporting. It's just that for obvious reasons, people who have multiple anonymous partners, they're touching each other a lot and they're sharing bodily fluids a lot. So there's a higher propensity to, bro.
I guess that's true because the common cold isn't an STD and you could get it by having sex with someone with it.
And if you go and shake the hand of somebody who's got it and then you get it, you're going to be like, I swear I wasn't going.
So is it because it's not a blood disease? It's a skin to skin contact disease that it's not considered an STD?
Yeah. It's not an STD.
I want to point out that just because someone declares something doesn't mean that it's actually real. Like I declare this piece of obsidian is blue. It's still black. So that they're...
Well, hold on. I mean, he's saying it's an emergency. Like that's,
but that opens up the FDA. We were talking about this before the show to start approving medicine for emergency authorized use without proper testing channels if it's considered an emergency.
Yeah. So I mean, the PHE being declared does open the door for medications, vaccines, other testing, diagnostics to be brought onto the market through, instead of going through the traditional FDA approval process, through the abbreviated EUA process, the emergency use authorization process.
What bothers me the most is that we've been softened. I think people have been softened to what it means a medical emergency actually is since COVID. Like that people are willing to tend that this might actually be a real emergency.
I mean, it might be a real emergency, dude.
Well, might is a different story. Now, I'm open to talking about it.
I'm saying, in my opinion, like the reality is the government has declared it, so they're claiming it is. My point is people can get monkeypox from touching other people. And so while it's spreading predominantly among one particular group, it could find its way, if people don't take it seriously, into general population. Like regular people will start popping up and be like, how did this happen? And then all of a sudden you've got bumps or whatever. There's some crazy posts on social media where they're like, if you're going to a kink event, just put Band-Aids over your bumps. Wow. It's like, well, that's why it's spreading. So I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do.
It's the same thing. This is a little unrelated. The same thing was going on in Arizona. It's taken 2 days to count this vote. In 2020, for the first time, it takes days to count votes. And people have been softened to it. It's like...
It happened in 2018.
So it's a
happening
pretty
for, like,
new phenomenon where it's taking multiple days to count a city's votes.
Well,
that's not ethical.
It also 2000.
Maybe, yeah. And that was
like,
Well, yeah, the recounts.
right.
so it has
Christopher
happened,
Gore.
but like, I don't want to see people get like muted to the what a real emergency is because we keep being told that we're in a state of emergency.
We've like, I don't think we've ever not been in a state of emergency our entire lives.
Since September 11th,
No,
2001,
even,
it's been emergency
even
every
before
day in
that.
this stupid.
Even before
I love
that.
this country, but it's
How many emergencies are currently active in the United States? There's probably dozens because they never just end them. They're like, oh yeah, 9/11 emergency, and then they just leave it, and then it's an emergency, and then they can
Right.
do all this crazy stuff.
And it's threatening to our liberties, right? It's a constant state of emergency, as we saw in many ways unprecedented restrictions on individual freedom that happened in this country during the COVID-19 pandemic during the PHE.
More than 30 national emergencies remain in effect.
wow. What's the oldest one?
So they say the legislation was signed by President Gerald Ford on September 14th, 1976. As of March 2020, 60 national emergencies have been declared, more than 30 of which remain in effect. So, we're just sitting there. Oh, okay, there's 42 currently in effect. We have them. Let's take a look. List of national emergencies in the United States. All right, let's see. We got 42 still in effect. Look at this list. It's huge. Let's go all the way down. All right, under Biden, you've got a security emergency, invocation of emergency authority relating to the regulation of the anchorage and movement of Russian-affiliated vessels to United States ports. Hey, we got this one, Biden. Protecting certain property of Afghanistan Bank. For the benefit of the people of Afghanistan. You've got sanctions. You got sanctions. You got Trump. Trump's emergencies are still in effect. Current. So this one ended under Trump. Here's a current Trump one. Declaring a national emergency concerning the novel coronavirus. Okay, that we understand. Blocking property and suspending entry of certain persons contributing to the situation in Syria. Let's go back pre-Trump. Let's go to Obama. Here's a current Obama one. Blocking property relating to Venezuela. You've got Central African Republic. I mean, these are all emergencies, man.
A lot of them are sanctions.
A lot of them are sanctions.
Geez, like 90% of them.
Public health
Public
under
health
Obama.
and sanctions.
Yeah, that was H1N1.
Is it still? So the green ones are still going on.
A lot of sanctions. It's like all sanctions, basically. To be fair, it's all
Legal.
sanctions.
What's that one? Legal.
Protecting the development fund for Iraq and certain other property in which Iraq has interest.
What does that mean? It's an emergency. We got to make sure that the Iraqis get their land. What the heck is going on?
Dude, that's been in effect since 2003.
Wow.
That's a George Bush emergency
That's
there.
crazy, dude.
H1N1 isn't current, right?
No. I mean, I think
that
it's still
lapsed.
it's still around and stuff. Under Bush, had a trade August 17, 2000. Continuation of export regulations, emergency declared.
Okay, it's not an emergency anymore. Iraq's taken care of. We're not even. Our troops have pulled out. Like,
We got it.
no, they
We're
haven't.
still, yeah, we're still there.
Technically, we're supposed to have by now, but
Arms, current. Proliferation of weapons of mass destruction emergency under Bill Clinton, 1994.
what does that mean? I mean, obviously,
Amazing.
it's a
Right.
summary, but what is that?
Oh, here we
a
go.
Trade emergency.
Carter sanctions still in effect, blocking Iranian government property. That's not a surprise. Okay, you know what? I'll say this. I get it. It's mostly sanctions. I understand. But there's like seizure under Biden, the people of Afghanistan or whatever. The emergency declarations give them just like blanket powers to do a bunch of crazy stuff.
Yeah, and we saw that on full display during the COVID-19 pandemic. Unprecedented restrictions on individual freedom, lockdowns, people in my home state of North Carolina, the legal state of play was if you didn't have a reason to be out of your house, if you weren't going to the grocery store or trying to get medical care, then you could be held liable for a criminal misdemeanor.
You see that video of that lady who owned the restaurant? And she set up an outdoor seating area, and then California shut it down. But right next to it was a movie production company's outdoor seating
Right.
area that was up and running.
Yeah, she was crying, making a
Yeah.
video about it because
Yup.
it destroyed her business.
I heard
You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
I heard from so many people in 2020 as this was starting, people who had invested their livelihoods into starting businesses in my home state, and they were completely devastated by the restrictions and by the lockdowns. And then you had PPP money that was being supposed to go to these people. And one of the dirty little secrets of the legal profession is a lot of that money, I can tell you, went to law firms in 2020 and 2021. And law firms, by the way, that never locked down or shut down. And as I came back into private practice, learned many of them had record years in 2020. So
wow, good for them. Right. Good for them. We're always happy when lawyers make money.
Well, yeah. And you know, I mean, I'll speak to this as somewhat of a traitor to my class, but it's disgraceful that working class men and women who that money was really there for to keep them making ends meet, you know, were losing their livelihoods while partners in mid-sized law firms were paying down their beach houses. That's a disgrace. I'm sorry.
I just had a crazy thought. What if the elites, the wealthy, are trying to strangle out the working class, then fund advocacy for communism by going to the working class and being like, man, your life sucks. Like, yeah, communism, look at this. You know,
No. Well, yeah, that's probably yeah.
And then these
that's
people,
an old ancient practice: strip people of their needs and then promise to give them back.
Yeah. What was it? Fast and Furious 4, I think it was. The villain in that movie, it was brilliant. He was giving, he was helping the locals, giving them stuff, and he was like, if you give them something, then they fear having it taken away, and then they're your slaves or something like that. So it's kind of like take people who are in dire straits and give them just enough, and then you can threaten to take away what very little they have.
We've got to get back to viewing the federal government as something that we are allowing to exist. It's basically a union that we as citizens of our states are allowing to function. It's not there to control us. It's there because we want it to be there. It doesn't have authority over us. We are it. It is part of us. And it's supposed to work in synergy with us to make sure that no one state goes rogue and starts destroying its citizenry. That's basically the function of the federal government.
And yet we have a very powerful, as we all know, central government that really regulates all aspects in many ways of our lives, right? Or at least if you're in a commercial endeavor of any kind, alphabet soup of agencies and red tape and regulations and all that comes with it. The professional class that's around it, the consultants, the lobbyists, and yes, the lawyers that are a part of that ecosystem, right? So yeah, I mean, the original intent of the Republic, as you pointed out, right? A limited federal government with most of the powers being reserved to the states and to the people, where they could act locally and govern themselves.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.